Call meeting to order.
Coffee?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
McKinley? Testori?
Yes.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a couple public comments tonight. Alice, Gunn, would you like to take the floor?
You always pick me first, sir. This week I handed you guys a proposal for solution to this controversy on recycling. Area stated that they have to offer recycling in Champaign in order to do business there. NYCHA stated they will be offering it. Okay, now the council meets with both of these here, gets a valid date for both can provide recycling, whether it be March of next year. At least it would be in place. Rewrite or add amendment to legal documentation, franchise ordinance, I don't know what is in effect for them to do business here. Okay? And if it's stated that any garbage company doing residential business in Farmer City must offer recycling effective on such and such a date. Like I said, if it's next year, that's fine. Okay, the results, Farmer City will always have recycling offered to residents generations to come. You don't have to worry about it anymore. No public recycling center to upkeep that was a complaint. No additional cost to city since they would do the billing, and it'd be up to us who we picked. No city government would be involved other than legal for the ordinance or the franchise. It would end the city controversy. And Aaron, you get to keep your little campaign promise. And quit giving us dirty looks. Rolling your eyes.
Thank you.
So, that was it. Thank you.
We have one more public comment. Tina Harrison.
I was just wondering, do you guys have any committees or anything that people in town can join and get more involved in town?
We have a garden, there's a garden club, there's obviously Chamber of Commerce, there's other.
Is there a list that we can get?
I'm sure.
Probably.
Heritage Day.
Let me say this to you about committees. I think what you're
Sorry, I
looking
gotta step closer. My head's all stuck. I can't hear very well.
sometimes there's ad hoc committees that we appoint people to be a part of. So you can kind of find out what it's all about, what we have to do as far as sitting up here, and you can become involved in it. And you can come back to a council and make recommendations to us.
Okay.
And we don't have to take your recommendation, or I shouldn't say we, but the city council does not have to take it, or they can accept it, they can consider it. But that's something that's maybe, and that comes down to, I understand what you're saying probably about this, you know, to research it. You would research it, and we did, and I think, you know, had direction on which way to go. And with the city manager, she would help give you the direction on which way to go. You would have to keep track of what you do. In the past, which passed is 25 years ago, we had a committee for, I think, for rewriting a personnel policy for one. And that's one thing I can think of right off the bat. But there has been some of those in the past. That's something that I guess that we as a council can consider that.
I didn't know if there's like, if you had groups for like ideas on improving the town, ideas for like getting things started for kids.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I think, you know, you could form your own group to some extent. You can, if you come underneath our wing and everything, you're going to have to be, you have to watch what you do. You have to do like what we do. You have to have meeting recorded. It has to be, you have to have minutes. You have to come back to us. It has to be all above board, because if you don't make it above board, then you're going to get in trouble. So,
yeah, I was just kind of curious, because I know a lot of towns do have that type of thing, and I've never heard if Farmer City did. So I think it would be something that the town needs to do.
That depends on the leadership and whether they want to do that.
This is really like the volunteering and getting the people that want to start to do the groups.
Well, yeah, I knew it would be volunteering.
Let me tell you, we get an ad hoc committee. This is before I got on the council, before I was elected the mayor. Her position it was an administrator at that time. And there's an ad hoc committee that was done for that, to put it together to look at, for hiring an administrator and all that, and see if it was worthy to do that. That was one thing that I can remember way back.
Okay.
And then when I wasn't mayor, then we did something for the personnel manual, and there's something else that just evades me right now what it was. It's too long ago. But it is, I'm not saying it's not a bad thing to do, but as a group, as it was a small group, maybe 4 or 5 people, but you have to meet, and you have to be, you can't just say, want to do this, and then you'll meet. You got to have a schedule. When you're going to do this, you're going to meet once a month on the 3rd Tuesday of the, and that sort of thing. So it has to be pretty organized. You can't just be haphazard.
And Sue would be the one to help get something like that together?
Something, yeah, if we would appoint you probably, I would come down, if we would decide to do something, have an ad hoc committee to go out and research something and come back to us.
Because I have a lot of ideas, especially for kids, like around the holidays and stuff.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is there something particular that you're looking for?
Yeah.
Well, I was just talking to my sister. We have this city park that's absolutely beautiful. But what about around the holidays? You know?
Well, Mary Kimball is definitely, she's.
But I mean, for the city, I mean, put a tree up, decorate it, have a night that Santa Claus is up there, serve hot chocolate.
She is doing all of that this year. She's doing carriage rides and horse.
Oh, is she?
horse and
See, I don't know
carriage
nothing
rides.
about
Tree
it.
decorating. Tree
Okay, well,
decorating
because
in the community.
The kids in this town don't have anything
Right.
really to do. And unfortunately, there's a lot of families in town that are hard on time. So I really don't know how to put it, that it's not going to offend anybody. So they mean something. And I think, and Santa Claus's hours are not very many from what I caught on Facebook, which I'm not on there that often. But I just think there should be more in town. You know, the Halloween thing you guys do is great, but why not decorate the city park? You know, make it a little creepy for the kids to walk through.
The trunk or treat is going to be up here.
But I mean, like at the beginning of October, go ahead and decorate the park, you know?
That's something that's more of a Chamber of Commerce thing to do.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
than it would be for us to sit there and.
Okay.
It sounds,
see, I don't
like
know.
it sounds like you're looking to work with somebody like Mary Walker.
Okay, because something, I mean, this just seems like there's a lot of things that could be more improved in town, and for adults and for kids, you know. Block parties in the summer, you know, we got local bands around here that probably do it for a little bit of nothing or free, you know, to get the community together. Because just during this recycling, you can see this town is not together. It does not support a lot of things. As a kid, the only fair that Dad would ever take us to was here. That fair's a joke from when I was a kid. And Willard knows, I can see it on his face. There's a lot of things that when I was a kid that we loved coming here. I mean, we come up to visit Alice and Pete, and, you know, it's not here now. And then we're constantly bad-having the kids because they're walking the streets, you know, so-and-so's on this corner with a hoodie. Well, it's cold out. They're going to have a hoodie on. That's what kids do. Not necessarily they're doing something bad. But instead of bashing the kids and bashing even some of the adults in town, let's do something that puts the town in a unity and have activities for them and bring them together and let them all meet each other.
I don't think you need the city council's blessing or permission to do this. This is something you can do, and just put some people together and do it.
Okay.
That's what Mary Walker's done. She's just gone and done it.
Okay.
But if you want to research for the city, like what helped Sue, then we probably need to. I don't think we've had a committee since I've been on the board. We probably have to form a committee. And
It depends what you want to do.
Direction.
It depends where we want to go, and look at certain.
There's
things.
too much going around up here in the head, so that's kind of hard.
Right now, I can't. I can think of one.
Let's
This,
say something.
Well, I was just going to say, one of the opportunities that we're going to have for everybody is a strategic planning session that we're going to open to include the public. And I'm talking about a workshop with Post-it notes and drawing boards, and to actually get the city's input about where we want to go and what are the priorities and what's most important. Schools, streets, parks, events.
Sidewalks.
There you go. And so there's going to be a huge public input component of that. And I'm
Okay.
trying to get dates for early next year.
Okay.
So we will have a chance for that. And then once those priorities are put in place, let's say sidewalks, yes, I would like to have like a sidewalk committee of residents and staff and maybe engineers to sit down and set, okay, which ones we're gonna do first. You know, we only have so much money. Maybe have a committee to deal with streets, have a committee to deal with parks, but those will come out of the strategic planning as what are the priorities, what are the goals, and then we may have a committee for each of those goals.
Because when I was a kid, and I'll probably say, I'm 52, so we're talking about when I was in my early teens. This was a booming town. There was pizza places, there was a little kid's clothing store that sold sterling silver and turquoise jewelry. There was a drugstore uptown that had a little 5 and dime in it. There's none of that anymore. And I know times have changed, but try to get revenue into town instead of out of town.
That'll be a component, I'm sure, too, is economic development.
Okay, I was just kind of curious because I've never heard if there was any committees or groups.
Not yet, but
Okay.
again, as Willard said, there'll be ad hoc, and that means for a specific purpose and
Okay.
time. So I'm sure we will have some next year.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Tina. All right, consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second it.
Call it.
Coffee?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
McKinley?
Yes.
Testori?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We have a little unfinished business tonight.
Okay, we need to bring to the table that, I'm not sure how to word this, the,
RFP for mandated residential
Okay.
refuse.
and move to remove from the table the RFP for mandated garbage service.
Second.
Call it.
Kelly?
Yes.
McKinley?
Yes.
Testori?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 987, amended garbage ordinance.
I'd like to make a motion to accept areas option 3 proposal on the RFP for refuse and recycling.
Discussion?
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I maybe misunderstood. You made a motion, Scott, to approve ordinance 987. And I think the only thing is whether there's a second or not. I'm not certain yours is a second there, maybe I didn't understand.
Okay, I just want to,
We brought from the table, that's what we're on, that's what the top of the list is.
The RFP is brought
RFPs.
from the table.
All right. My mistake then.
Okay, you want to withdraw your motion then, Scott?
I do withdraw my motion.
Okay, all right, okay, just so we're all on the same page.
so I want a motion to accept areas option 3 proposal on the RFP for refuse and recycling.
Second.
Discussion?
Remind me what that was.
I didn't bring it with me.
Provide a 2-week period in the spring and fall for curbside waste and pickup, and then to have the weekly recycling and weekly garbage for $14.75, starting at $14.75 for the first year. Provide weekly collection of trash using various carts determined by the customer, 95 gallons, 65 or 35. Volume of trash and recycling set out will be limited to what fits in the carts. Residents will use their own containers or biodegradable bags for yard waste collection during the 2-week period in the spring and during a 2-week period in the fall. The cost of the service will be $14.75 per month per household. And then a 10% discount for senior citizens.
This is a single provider.
This is area, yes, and accept it there. And I have talked to several people in town that have reached out to me. I've been, taking notes of what everybody has been paying. The lowest I've heard that anybody pays that's paying for garbage right now is $25.50 a month. So, I'm just like making it an even number, but the lowest amount of savings that I found is $10 a month. So they're going to be saving $10 or more per month on the garbage. And I mean, that's, times, from what has been said, 800 people. I don't know if that's totally accurate, but, that's $8,000 a month that would be essentially coming back into our local economy. I mean, that's money that everybody in town is going to be saving. So that's $8,000. You take that on a 12-month scale, I mean, that's a lot of money that could potentially come back into our community that could be used to, buy stuff in our local community. And one, way that I thought to give a remedy to all of this is the city does have budget billing, and that we would open that up when this starts for everybody to get on budget billing if they wanted to, because budget billing will make your bill one flat rate the entire time. And you may or may not have to pay some at the end. It's not always guaranteed that it's going to be, you may get money back or you may have to pay a little over. But I think there's been a lot of people that have reached out to me that already do budget billing and love this idea. Love the idea of incorporating this into it and just having one less bill. And I mean, there's a lot of people that came to me that said they're paying upwards of $31 for garbage, and they would love to save $15 or more on their garbage per month. So I can't ignore those people. There's other people reaching out to me to talk about this. So.
The problem I see is that it involves the city and the garbage business again. And it narrows us down to a single provider. That is a problem. So the savings is great.
But I mean, who's to say that we're not going to be down to a single provider in a matter of years? I mean, that could happen at any time. So we only have 2 providers. I feel that the savings is just tremendous, and you're getting more services for less money. I think that there's a lot of people in town that would benefit from this.
I like the savings, but I'll be honest with you, I don't want to push this tonight. We have some other options here that we can look at also, and I'd like us to go through those, to be honest with you.
Okay, I'll move to table that motion.
Second it.
You're moving to table Aaron's motion, just so we're clear.
That's correct.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? I know it's not open forum.
Who seconded it? I'm sorry, not anyone here.
I did.
Sorry.
We still need a motion, a vote
Call it.
on the table.
On the motion table.
Okay, let's go. Testori.
Yes.
Coffee?
No.
Kelly?
Yes.
McKinley?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Scott, was that a no on asking a question?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Was that a no on me asking a question?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Moving down, we have new business.
Before you move on, did you want to discuss?
I would like to discuss what we talked about with this other options.
Do we need a motion to approve the ordinance 987 and to discuss it?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve 987, amended garbage ordinance.
Second it. Call it.
No, actually, now it's open for discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, discussion.
Just as a quick review, I cherry-picked from a couple of different ordinances. So all of the haulers are familiar with most of the provisions that are in this ordinance. So it's a mixture of what I thought would fit, for our city. I'm sure you've looked through it. I can walk through it or just answer questions. Basically, it also incorporates things that we already currently have in our ordinance that we're just leaving in there. There were a couple provisions that Joe and I worked on last week that are in the ordinance, but we've rewritten a little just to make everything seamless. Other than that, it's, like I said, it's not reinventing the wheel.
Can you walk through it for the benefit of the audience? Please?
What this does is repeals and replaces the existing garbage ordinance. What it does is it sets up where haulers are allowed to, it's a free market, open market for any hauler, but they are required to provide recycling at the residential request. So it'll be refuse and recycling. We will still do yard waste from the city's end. And then it also requires them to provide totes.
For both.
For both. Then it requires that all residents have to have garbage removed from their residence utilizing a hauler.
We already have that in place anyway,
We're
correct?
not using a hauler. See, there was we had, that they had to be removed and you had to have like a can, you
Okay.
know. But this will clean that up to where
So
they're
this means
required
that
to have
every
it.
residential home has to have
Yeah, so
trash
you
removal.
don't burn it, you don't,
You can't take
Through
it
the
anywhere
hauler.
else.
yeah.
Okay.
It also requires the haulers, currently, we did have a license required for the haulers, but we weren't enforcing it. So this requires that the haulers get a license, but it also adds a lot of things to it, which provides for insurance on their end as well as ours. It protects the city in terms of damage to our streets. Like if they've got hydraulic fluid leaking out of their garbage trucks like we've been experiencing. You know, any kind of issues like that, if they're dropping garbage as they're going down the street. It also requires them to have customer service on a daily basis, so if somebody has an issue, they can call them and they get a response. It also has a $100 fee, just, you know, for the permit and the processing of the permit. And it includes, similar to another community, a road impact fee because of the wear and tear on our roads. If we're going to have multiple haulers, we don't know how many trucks, between refuse and recycling, you can have up to like 6 trucks on a daily, weekly basis. And so this will help cover our costs for, like the example that we had over on, I think it was Maple, where it sunk into the right-of-way. And then it just kind of sets how they're, you know, that they have to take it somewhere official, you know, like, you know, so that kind of protects that they're not collecting the recycling and throwing it in with the garbage. Approved containers. So it leaves a lot of services in place that already exist, but it provides more protections for the residents and it provides more protections for the city.
Which probably means it's going to cost more.
Which means that it will probably raise the costs that all the residents are paying. So if you're being charged right now, let's say $25 a month, your bill's probably going to go to about $26, $27, $28, because they're going to have to cover their costs if they're, now that they're going to have to spend, you know, with these new requirements. But it protects us and it protects them. You know, some of the things they don't have right now, like the customer service, they call, they complain, nothing happens. You're gonna get, they're gonna get the recycling, you don't have to participate, but they are required to provide it, which means, let's say you have 400 customers, only 200 take recycling, they're gonna have to pass on that cost to all 400. But that's in a nutshell what's in there. There's a lot of fine detail, but that's the overall. Did I miss anything really?
No, I think that-
Okay. This is only for single family. I mean, we've discussed commercial and multifamily, just in that they have to have garbage pickup, but the licensing, the recycling, the weekly pickup, it's all driven
So because of doing
residential.
this, we will like be enforcing, starting to enforce
Yes.
the ordinance?
Yes.
So,
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Scott.
I said there was a concern raised about the $2,500 that they from Dave. He thinks that roughly should be pared down based on our community size.
I think it was per household, wasn't it? It was based on a,
It's yeah, it's $1 per
just
house.
a flat rate. I don't know how, that's too much for this.
I guess my argument would be roads cost the same no matter what size of town. And,
Right.
The damage
That's
to
true.
roads that need to be
That is
fixed.
true, yeah.
Don't change.
And it's not like $2,500 goes a long way to fix a street either.
No.
So,
This is only gonna generate approximately $7,000 a year, which you can't even do a road for that. I mean,
no.
you couldn't even do, I don't know
So,
if you could even do.
what's the
curb and
difference between the $25,000 option one or an amount equal to $1 per tote
It's whichever is greater.
per month? 2,500 per
Per
month?
year, isn't it?
And it just shows you.
No, this says per month or under the $1 option.
Well, then we can clean that up, but it was to be, no, it's per year. $2,500 per year or $1 per customer per month per year. So we can clean that up.
Okay,
So it could actually be less depending on, if they just write us a $2,500 check.
yeah.
So it's really not very much.
No.
I mean, this is a lot closer to what I would like to see.
I mean, this is gonna give the community opportunity to use,
It's going to charge everybody more money.
but it is gonna cost them more money. But
Which
they
is
will
what
have the choice
everybody's
to
so
use whoever
concerned
they want.
about not being able to afford stuff. So the low-income people that are already paying for garbage are now going to be paying more for garbage. Because there are some low-income people that are paying for garbage. I mean, like, that's
Well, and I
just a
just
fact.
want to completely recircle and start at the beginning. That was one of the reasons I recommended doing the RFP, because I knew the economies of scale was going to get the services that everybody wanted for a much lower price. Right, so now we're back at the other where I knew it's gonna raise costs. But it's up to you.
Any other discussion on this? What do you think, Lord? I see something spinning over there.
I see it.
Well, I think, it is going to raise the cost. I'm not sure why everybody wants to raise the cost of the garbage. I think we're trying to protect one hauler. I think that's one part of it right here too. And, I got nothing against Dave Kaufman or anybody
Right.
else. I mean, I've known David for a long time. But,
And honestly, if I ever thought that this was putting Dave out of business, I would have never started. And I would, he's not going out of business. He made it very clear in here. He is in 11 different towns, 9 different counties. And he said at the meeting, it's less than 10% of his business, Farmer City is. So that's where I'm at, is that it's hard for me to wrap my head around all of this and pay more money when we are, a fraction of his business. We're not making or breaking this man, you know what I mean? If it came down to we're gonna close his doors, put a bunch of people out of work and stuff like that, I would never even consider this. It would absolutely be nothing I would even discuss. But that is not the case, and I feel that, it's doing an injustice to the people that are paying for garbage that we could be saving a tremendous amount of money for. And that's all I'm trying to say. And I'm not trying to be vindictive. I'm just trying to, save people money.
I wanted to bring this up so people could see that you're gonna still get lesser services and it's gonna cost you more money. I mean, that's all it comes down to.
Well, you have to consider what the role of government is too. Government is to take care of infrastructures, utilities, and things people can't do for themselves. People can do this for themselves.
Sure.
And all we're doing is using the city's buying power to drive the price down, which is not the function of the government.
We're here to help the community.
Yeah, we're here to
make
help
good
the
choices.
community. There's a lot of communities that do this, I think.
I understand there is.
Okay, well, we're here to help the people of the community to save money, and that's what this is about, so.
But if you've ever called the area and had a complaint, they are very rude.
Okay, well, there are people that don't think that. There are people that think the opposite of that have area, that love area, so it's.
If you were to adopt the RFP and it was area, there's actual protections in the contract that they must provide good customer service and that they don't get back to the residents on that issue. They're laughing because they've never had that protection.
Right.
And when you have a contract with a hauler that requires that service, then we have the teeth to go after them to protect them.
Right.
Any other discussion? So do we want to table this until the next meeting?
I move that we table this until the next.
Second it.
Call it.
Kelly,
Yes.
McKinley,
Yes.
Testori,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, now we're in the new business, correct?
Yes.
This is, just says discussion of refunding Series 2011 bonds.
Yes. John? This is John Pizzetti with Bernardi Securities. I introduced you earlier. He's going to walk you through what we're proposing to do. I've worked with John before. It saved over $250,000 just by lowering interest rates. So I'll let him kind of tell you what we can do.
Thank you, Sue. Hopefully this is a little easier than your last topic. But a couple of weeks back, Sue reached out, and like she always does, she says, "Hey John, I got an idea that I think we can save some money." So we researched her idea, and what we've discovered is that the city has an outstanding bond issue that you issued in 2011. I believe there were electric system improvements at the time. And the current interest rate on those bonds is right around 4.5%, which at the time was a pretty reasonable interest rate, but in today's marketplace it's somewhat high. And so through our analysis, we have found that we were able to reduce that interest rate to about 3% or lower, and we could possibly save in the vicinity of $50,000 to $60,000 just in interest. Not extending any of the debt, not creating new debt, just exchanging the interest rate you've got now with a lesser one. And again, those savings are passed along to you year in and year out until the bonds mature, and it's just more money's back in the electric system coffers. So depending on how much of this you want me to go through, I can kind of hit the high notes. This is a presentation that's designed for an hour and a half, but I'll try to keep it at 5 minutes. So if you want to just turn to page 6 and 7 real quick, a little bit about us, who we are, what we do. Our firm, Bernardi Securities, has worked with Evans, Froelich, Beth, Chamley. Mr. Chamley's late partner, Kurt Froelich, probably on 60 or 70 deals a year, back in 1984. And we specialize in municipal bonds. We don't sell stocks, we don't sell insurance. Strictly focusing on municipal bonds, as boring as they may be, we find them interesting here in the state of Illinois. And on pages 6 and 7 kind of go through, our rankings. Year in and year out, we underwrite the most bank qualified issues, which are issues between $0 and $10 million, kind of the smaller amount of a bond issue. And that's kind of what we pride ourselves on, is being a family-run company, low overhead. Our costs are dramatically lower than a lot of our competition, which is why this market kind of attracts a lot of issuers, governments to us, is that we're able to get a good price for them and do it at a fair fee. On page 7, as far as rankings go for cities, towns, and villages, we currently own about 36% of the overall city, towns, and villages here in Illinois. We've done about 275 total issues just since 2010, averaging about 40 to 45 issues a year. And again, those are ranging anywhere from $1 million to $10 million. Some a lot smaller, some a lot bigger than that. But again, that's kind of where our bread and butter is.
Where's that current rate at?
I'm sorry?
I know the current rate on these.
Oh,
You said we were.
let's go right into it. All right.
I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of
Let's go right into it. All right. Enough beating on my chest. We'll get started. All right. I like your style, Mr. Mayor. All right. Turn to page 23.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I got the hint. Page 23. So left to right is how we're going to move through this graph here. So on the left-hand side is the current amortization of those Series 2011 bonds. You've got principal, you pay once a year, and you've got interest, you pay twice a year. We're not looking to change any of that. Same schedule. Last payment being fiscal year 2032. Last principal payment date is actually December of 12/1/31. But as you know, your fiscal year ends April 30th, so it's really FY32. The amount of interest, and then right below that chart on the left where it says current amortization is where that net interest cost of 4.44% comes into play. That's the rate you're going to pay on those bonds if you decide to let them go to maturity. So moving to the right, again, a lot of numbers here, but really the far right-hand column is what we should focus on. If the city decides, to refinance, best case scenario, as of a couple weeks ago when Sue and I met, you've got an opportunity here to save around $62,000. And again, that's all net of projected costs of issuance, which I've assumed at about 2%, which is a pretty fair, it's actually kind of below fair marketplace percentage for total fees. And that's everything from our fee to underwrite the bonds, place them at an interest rate of 2.84, which you see below the principal and interest column on the kind of the right center part of the page, to your bond attorneys, which Evans, Froelich, Beth, and Chamley could act as those bond attorneys. We still work with Ken Beth pretty regularly, who's kind of taken over Kurt's practice, as well as Mr. Chamley, if you'd like to act in that role. This even assumes the cost of going to S&P and reaffirming the city's credit rating. A few years back, you were upgraded to AA- from A+. That is kind of a lengthy process, if you will. A lot of it kind of falls on Sue, and she knows through experience, kind of the effort that goes into that. But that's one of the things you don't have to determine tonight. We'll have to look at the cost benefit of that, because there is a fee of doing that. And so that fee is predicated on how much you borrow. So you're looking at about $1.1 million, $1.2 million in outstanding principal. So the fee for that alone is $9,500 or $9,700 by Standard & Poor's. So then we need to look at, okay, so if it's going to cost the city $9,700, are we going to get interest rates that are that much less than going non-rated and save that $97,000 and then some? Because again, it is some time-sensitive stuff that Sue will have to put a lot of work into, so we've got to take that into account as well. But again, we don't need to decide that tonight, but it will be something we explore as we progress. So kind of best case scenario, $62,000. I did also want to show you kind of worst case. We're not going to be anywhere near this, but for representation's sake, worst case scenario, if the city were to be non-rated on its own, not AA-, you'd be looking at a savings of about $25,000. Almost at the point where, on a present value basis, is it even worth the time of the city to go through? Okay, and while even saving a nickel is important, there is a lot of time that you guys will have to put into this. So again, we'll weigh those options. This is very worst case. I don't see this happening at all. We're going to be in that 50 to 60 range if interest rates don't move on us, which I don't expect they will in the next month and a half, which is when I think we could complete this process. So we've kind of thrown out a preliminary timeline starting with your next meeting, November 6th. It would be a one ordinance cycle for the city council, because you went through the publication of the ordinance and the public hearing back in 2011. This would just require one action by the city council. As soon as that would be enacted, we then would start putting together the puzzle pieces to it, and hopefully having this wrapped up by the end of December, if you wanted to act as quick as that.
The bonds, what kind of bonds are they? Are they alternate bonds?
They're alternate revenue source bonds, correct.
Okay.
General obligation.
Now, what you're going to do is you're going to reissue bonds, is that correct?
Correct.
You're going to buy and reissue bonds and to pay our debt off and everything we have?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
The buyers of the bonds, can I ask you who they usually are? Individuals?
Individuals, high net worth individuals, retail banks. If you've got a couple of banks here in town that would like to participate or have an appetite for the sale, even $50,000, a couple $100,000, we'll definitely reach out to them. We've got an investor base, around in and around DeWitt County that is pretty strong. They've got a very good appetite for municipal bonds. They're attractive on their own right, but with your solid credit rating, I'm sure there wouldn't be any issue trying to keep as many local as possible. So it's very similar to a mortgage. It's the same. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me. Does everybody understand what an alternate bond is? Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead and explain.
Well, an alt-rev bond it's based on a revenue source. So because of our electric utility, you have to have 125% of your revenue to cover the cost of the bond issuance. So if you were paying $100,000 a year, you'd have to be bringing in 125, to cover it. And these are, so you can't, they're alt-rev GO bonds, but it's based on the revenue source of the electric utility. Okay. That's why, it was for the electric utility, and that's why we're using the electric utility.
Do we have to do something each year to keep that in place, or they stay where it's a revenue sharing and everything, where we take it?
Update that?
Well, we
No, I think what we got into here one time, we didn't do something, we didn't pass something in the right way, and we got into where the tax bill was going to come out, they were on the tax bill.
Yeah, that's an abatement process.
I think that was on the
We didn't
other
take care of
ones.
things the way we should have here, because we didn't understand and everything, and I think at the time, the right person wasn't here to help us out with that, so.
Yeah, we're already in the
Okay.
process of that.
Okay.
We got the notice and
It's a pretty large savings.
Oh, yeah. It's well worth it.
But the savings is over the life of the bond, right? So it's,
it's about 5,000.
Correct.
3 to 5,000 a year.
yeah.
And another thing we looked at was essentially monetizing those savings. So 3 to 5,000 in your electric system, right now, just in your electric system really isn't much of an impact. It's cash flow positive, it's very healthy. So one of the things that Sue and I are going to look at is instead of saving 3 to 5 grand a year, how much can we save upfront, monetize it, right? Put those dollars in real working condition. So that might end up being 40 to 50,000, which can go into this year's fiscal year, this year's coffers. But again, it's one of the things we'll look at, get back in front of you, and you guys can decide. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just, how do you want to save the money?
Right.
Anybody else?
So we'll bring this back on November 6th and go from there.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
John.
much.
Yep, thanks for having me.
You want to do that?
Sure.
Okay. And
You bet.
let's talk.
You bet.
Motion ordinance 988 designating handicap parking spaces at South Park.
Seconded.
Discussion?
It's a good idea.
Great idea.
Do you know where these are going to be, Sue? I know they,
There's going to be one in each. So there's going to be one by the very first shelter, one over by the concession stand, and one over by the campground, I believe.
soccer field,
Um,
probably.
I think the closest one, soccer field wise, was going to be over by the concession stand.
That's kind of where, I know that's where they were at.
There's like a high school soccer field back behind the campground, sort of like, there's
You know where the-
BMX, high
Yeah.
school soccer, and then the campground, and then there's like the children's soccer fields that they, like the smaller kids play soccer over by the baseball fields and stuff.
Yeah, I think
I know that's where the
3
request-
spaces in the parking lot of the pavilion nearest the entrance, in the parking lot at the entrance to the campsite, and in the grassy parking lot near the back pavilion.
back pavilion.
That's the, like the one that has the concession in it.
Okay.
Do
I
you
know
want to amend that?
they were asking for
There's one in the back pavilion?
There's going to be one. That's what's being proposed.
I was thinking that's where most of the traffic is, that's where I put most of them.
Well, we're going to do one in each area.
So you're gonna do one in that little parking section right when you go into South Park at that pavilion? Okay.
I'd like to see one back there at the soccer field. That's where they were requesting for one. I know there was an older gentleman that had to walk from over by the baseball diamond that was handicapped, and he had a hard time getting over there.
Well, you can amend it now if you want, and just vote on it
Yeah,
that
let's-
way.
So you just
Do
need
you
a
wanna do
motion to
4
amend it?
spaces?
Yeah.
Motion to amend, is it
Make
4
it-
spaces?
Make a motion to amend the resolution to 4 spaces.
Second it.
Call it.
McKinley,
Yes.
Testori,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
motion carries.
That's actually just to amend it.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Okay, all right.
yeah.
I thought someone would want to go on, and I wanted to, okay.
Now I'm gonna make a motion to approve it,
As amended.
As amended, yes.
for the amended ordinance number 988.
Actually, it's already there.
Yeah.
It's already there. It's just, if there's any further discussion, well, then you can call me.
Call.
Because it's the amended motion is what you're dealing with right now.
Any other discussion on that?
No.
Call it.
Testori,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
McKinley,
Yes.
motion carries.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 989, electric lien ordinance.
I'll second it.
It came to my attention that we have thousands of dollars out there owed to us in electric, water, and sewer bills. And as I was starting the process of liening properties to try to collect, which it could take 20 years on some of these, but at least try to get something. It came to my attention that we have the water and sewer lien portion, but not the electric lien portion in the code. So this would just clean that up to allow us to then, for example, the current owners of the grocery store, not the tenant, but the owners, when they were operating, it was $26,000. And so, we need to do something about that, let alone what's still outstanding currently. There's landlords out there that owe thousands and thousands. And so this will allow us then to have all three, and then we can move forward on trying to collect some of them.
The bill collecting on this has always been horrendous. It's never been tried to make. The reason the bills go out the 20th, they used to go out later than that, and we gave them 10 days, but we gave them 20 days to pay the bill. Still can't get it paid, and you got a grace period after that, and still can't get it paid, even with the penalty. So it's always been, the people in the business of this community have always had a decent and solid chance to pay that bill and work with, the city hall's always worked with them. And when we get stuff like this, I think it ticks me off. So
And please understand, again, there will be some that that lien may sit there for 20, 30 years, because it's not until the house either goes into foreclosure, bankrupt, or they sell it. But it's still an opportunity to try to collect, and sometimes, they'll find out about it and then go to make amends. So, because there's a notice. Yes, and then if there are some where you can foreclose on the property, and if it's a terrible dilapidated property, tear it down and maybe get a new house. So it's just another tool to use to try to clean some things up as well.
We're talking about putting a lien on rental property too.
Yes. That's why I'm saying some of these liens may be, more than the property's worth.
It's come up before that the property owners don't feel they should be responsible for electricity when it fails. I'm kind of mixed on that myself.
I'm not.
Okay.
Generally, landlords are making money on their property, and if they're not passing it on to the landlord, the tenant, then that's on them. And they can always take them to small claims court, but why should the city and the residents absorb that cost? Basically, you're asking the residents to cover the cost of the landlord running his rental property.
So let me ask you this, have these landlords been notified of these bills?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Or are they just going to get stuck with something from
No,
somebody?
Scott.
Oh, no.
Scott, no.
Yeah.
No, I've got
No.
one that's been past due, and I get notified every time.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's my question.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't want the
And they
landowner to
come
be
in and try to make
surprised.
deals and,
Gotcha.
Well, how do you collect water? How do you get your tenant today?
I tell them to pay up. That's how I do it. Show them I got the notice, I got the pink notice, I want you to pay the bill.
my husband and my father for 40 years have
No, I've had
filed
pretty good-
small claims.
I've had pretty good luck with it, so. And I also do select tenants too. We're selected by who rents the property, and
Required deposit, go to small claims court, raise your rent to cover it. You're making money off of that property.
me being
And
a
you
bus-
shouldn't ask the city to absorb, and the residents to absorb the cost.
me being in business myself and having rental property that I have out there, it's, we have to go after it and get it. I got something tangible to pick up if it doesn't work out. But then we also too go to court. And, so.
I think this is where we need to be.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have any discussion? Call it.
Coffee?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
McKinley?
Yes.
Testimony?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Make a motion for resolution 2017-41, donation to the Farmer City Chamber of Commerce annual Christmas parade. Willie seconded it.
Okay.
Quietly.
Discussion.
Every year.
I think this is something we always do correct.
Right.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with this. Anybody have a problem with this?
Yeah.
there does need to be a recitation of what the dollar amount is.
$1,000 is what they're asking for.
So
To
this-
help defray the cost of putting on the annual Christmas tree, is what it's used for. And it'll be coming out of a hotel in town.
Correct.
That makes sense.
Call?
Kelly,
Yes.
McKinley,
Yes.
Testori,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
motion carries.
Make a motion for resolution 2017-42, trick or treat hours to be from 5:30 to 8:30 on Tuesday, October 31st.
Second it.
Discussion?
The only question I had was, this morning in department head, the chief said 5:30 to 8. Was it 5:30 to 8 last year or 5:30 to 8:30?
I think it was 8. When I looked at it, that's the first thing I thought. Right, that's what I thought too. I thought it
But
was
that's
8
up to
too.
you. I think that was the chief's understanding as well, that it was to end at 8.
I thought it was at 8 last year, but whatever, I didn't know for
I
sure.
just want to copy and paste this one.
But that's up to you.
I don't have a problem with it. It'll stop when everybody's done.
Yeah, I think that'll be fine.
Okay. Want to mention it?
Does anybody have a problem with that, or?
Nope.
We go back to 8 o'clock.
No, I don't have a problem with it there. I was,
Okay. Call it.
McKinley,
Yes.
Testori,
yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
motion carries.
You should live on Washington Street and see that.
Motion, resolution 2017-43, accepting memorandum of understanding with Sybil Snyder, Dale Cox Memorial Bench to be placed at South Park. This is, should I explain it, or?
You can or I can?
Okay, go ahead, you go ahead.
Okay.
You want to second it first, then you
Yeah.
explain it? I'll second it.
Thank you.
Discussion?
Okay, we received a request from Mrs. Cox Snyder. She wanted to place a bench out at South Park, and she said, look, I'll pay for it, I'll put it in, and I'll take care of it. But I'm one that if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. So I said, let me throw an MOU together that protects you and the city. And so really, she's already picked it out. It's real pretty. It's that, I don't even know how to describe that material. It's like that compressed wood plastic. I mean, it's real well made. And she's going to pay for the concrete pad. She's going to pay for the installation. If there's any damage, like over the years or even tomorrow, that she's going to pay to fix it. It's really just she wants it out there in honor of her father. And we suggested over by the new playground, because you have a lot of parents out there with kids that would probably like a place to sit.
Sure. For those that don't know, Dale helped build that park out there.
That's what I,
And the person who didn't build it.
Yes.
and she's already signed it, as you can see. She has no issue with it.
Sure.
Where is it going to be? I'm sorry.
Out by the new playground at South Park.
Oh, okay.
But that's an agreement between Sybil and you, correct, Sue?
The city, yes.
Yes. Okay, so it may not be in that specific spot, correct?
That's what she wants.
No, that's where she wants it. I mean, I don't
That's
know
where she
why,
wants
I
it.
don't know why it would change.
Give us 4 or 5 areas. and-
The actual location will be agreed upon between the city council and her.
Well, she's already agreed with her, so.
Okay.
Well, we need to pencil that in there, make,
You had contacted Ms. Cox.
Yeah, we've
or
talked to
whatever,
her,
and
yeah,
already like
she- yeah.
discussed like different
She thought it was a
areas where
great
she
idea.
could
She
put
thought it
it,
was a great idea of going back.
to put it by the park.
Okay.
I think she's even talked to Fred already about, the installation.
Oh, okay.
Call it?
Testori,
yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
McKinley, motion carries.
Okay, motion, discussion regarding the draft social media policy.
I don't know that we need a motion. This is for discussion right now. We can bring it back. At some point, we're going to be doing a bigger overhaul of the personnel policy, but I wanted to get this on the books more for, protection. One of the things you'll find with a lot of city Facebook pages is, if you look at the About section usually it's in, it talks about the rules of how to conduct yourself on the Facebook page, whether it's staff or whether it's residents and businesses or people. And we don't currently have that, so I want to get that on there, because then if we have lewd, vulgar comments, we can remove them and refer them to the policy. This also regulates how staff conducts themselves on our Facebook page, whether it's the cities or the police departments. And it also addresses how staff acts on social media in their private life. There is protected speech and unprotected speech. Protected is if you don't like what the city's doing and you work for us, you are 100% protected by the First Amendment to say, I don't like, the garbage ordinance that they're talking about. You have 100% absolute right to say on social media you don't like that. But if then you say that, vulgar, lewd, nasty things about personnel, then that is not protected. And so there's a fine line. Obviously, it would be on a case-by-case basis, but once this is in place, that allows us to educate the staff and then also have teeth on the behavior. Whether it's, like I said, posting on the city's page or posting on public pages as a representative of the city. So that's what this covers. Obviously, you're going to have to, review and think on it if you have amendments. I have attended numerous seminars on social media. This is probably my third or fourth or fifth social media policy I've adopted. There's a lot of laws, there's a lot of protections. You have to be very careful, we get that. There's a lot of case law out there, but that's why it's very clear about what you can and cannot do, but again, it's on a case-by-case basis.
This is very common, I think, because I've seen this at my prior place of business.
Well, it also protects you, especially,
Sure.
You get someone posting something on the city's Facebook, even if they work for the city, you want to have rules about
Sure.
what's said or not said. But also, if we need to remove it, we can go back and say, if you look on our Facebook page, you will see our policy of what you can and cannot do on the page.
Any other discussion on this?
So I can bring it back on the 6th after you shoot on it a little more and
Sure.
propose it as an ordinance.
This applies only to the city employees, though.
No, it's two things. It involves content and use of social media from the staff's perspective, but also the operation of our Facebook page. So once if we adopt it, we then can place a policy about, what is and is not acceptable. Like mostly it's vulgar, lewd, profanity. So that if we remove that and someone complains, we can refer them back to the policy that's posted on the Facebook page.
This pertains only to the city's Facebook page.
No, it also pertains to their behavior, staff's behavior on social media.
Okay.
Could be Instagram, could be Twitter, could be Snapchat.
What about us?
I'm sorry?
What about us?
Yes.
I think we are included, that's for sure.
But again, 99% of it is protected. Like I said, if you want to complain about something that the city's doing, you have 100% right to do that. But if you turn it personal, it's usually how I kind of will say something to somebody. If you turn it personal, that can become an issue. But it's a case by case. It depends on what's said and done. But we certainly don't want staff out there maligning racial class or nationality, so there's
Sure.
certain
Well,
behaviors that...
Yeah, that shouldn't happen anyhow. I was just thinking about my wife's kind of opinionated, that's why I was...
No, this is employees, this is staff.
Okay.
Quite honestly, Scott, I think spouses ought to just stay off of this while you're on the city council.
Yeah,
That's my personal feeling. And I've told my spouse to stay off of it.
But we can't regulate that.
No, I can't. Take my house.
My wife's a free thinker, I can't.
I also would like to get the city's Facebook page verified. And what that means is Facebook marks it. Sometimes you'll see a city's Facebook page with a check mark. That means that they verified that it is the legitimate site of the actual city, and it's not a lookalike. You know, because some
Gotcha.
people will go and think, ooh, it says Farmer City's official Facebook page, but it's not really. And this, you get verified through Facebook that it is truly the city's Facebook page.
Gotcha.
Because there are communities, Lincoln had an issue where
They had
somebody
two
actually
ones.
stole the seal and used it, called it the city of Lincoln, and, you know, it wasn't. And, yeah. So I would like to get that done too. So I'll bring it back on the
Okay.
6th.
City manager's report.
I don't have anything except for I'll be at a conference next Monday through Wednesday, but I'll be available by phone and email. That's about it.
And do we have any other non-agenda items? or
Yeah,
anything?
I do want to bring something up. What we talked about today, when I talked to you about the garage, it has the, you know, somebody has a garage that has its own meter on it, and it was built in a residential area, and from the beginning, they have been charged a commercial rate because the ordinance says so, and I don't agree with the ordinance because it's a house that goes along with the garage on the property is not inhabited. They built the garage, and somebody was living in it, one family was living in it, but decided not to anymore because it wasn't too good a shape. So they built the garage, they have it there, they're not doing anything commercially out of it, they just store stuff in it. I don't think it's right that they be charged a commercial rate or anybody, unless it's, but if you're using the garage for a business purpose, and you have I would say true business purpose would be if you had a sales tax number, and that would be if you're in a residential area. I give my exist, lived across the street from you, I had a bicycle shop. I got ratted out by the neighbor. And somebody was saying to him that he got charged a commercial rate. He said, well, Willard McKinley's got that bicycle shop. He should be charged a commercial rate. Well, I got charged a commercial rate as long as I had that bicycle shop for my electricity in that house. And also had charged a commercial rate for my phone because I couldn't buy something in one place unless they knew I had a list of the yellow pages, and had to charge a commercial rate for that. But I just don't feel that anybody who, just because they have a garage that's not attached to having a separate meter or whatever, that they should be charged a commercial rate. Now, if we find out that they were doing that, having them a business out of there, and like I said, they did have a sales tax number, then legit to get charged a commercial rate and everything. But I don't know how everybody else feels about that, but I just don't think it's right the way they're being taken care of. I think when it came about, I think they put it in another name.
A business name.
In a business name, which it's not. They don't do anything out there.
My first question would be about having a commercial business in a residential area.
Well, it comes down to zoning too, Scott. I mean, you have to get checked with zoning, and that's another thing too. And there's commercial business that can be done in a residential area, because zoning will allow. Now, you can go down to Clinton and get the zoning book and everything and take a look and talk to them if you want to find out more about that. But you can do commercial business in a residential area with certain things. Hairdressers for one, that bike shop is one thing that could do in a residential area. XFL, yeah, you know. Do upholstery.
Avon.
Sometimes it's a hobby.
Yeah. So, you know.
Daycare.
Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff that can be done in a residential area, and so, but I don't think that, I think that needs to be looked at for us to get that changed for that situation.
So is it because it was just a single dwelling and on its
And I
own
don't have it
meter?
in front of
or-
me, but Calvin had given me a copy of the code and I couldn't find it this afternoon. But it's something reference to being a non-residential use, like a secondary use to the house, is to be charged, you know, a commercial rate. So we can look at, if I can find it again and it's in the code, we can look at amending it.
So what, like a...
Do you recall that? Do you,
No.
Had its own meter be considered the same thing?
Well, but a lot of these
Actually,
don't
they
have their
turned
own
the
meter.
meter off at the house. They said they were gonna tear it down. We did find that paperwork, and there is no
That's why
meter
they
to the
did it there,
house,
and-
but
What was
it's
this
a
at?
garage. No.
I don't remember any of that, that
Oh,
was before my
okay.
time, but I guess my point is, was it considered secondary because they already had a meter at the house?
Oh,
And this is my question.
No, No.
They used to, they don't
They did, I
anymore.
think they probably took the meter off the house and
Yeah,
everything.
they did.
I think they had a little electrical problem, so that's why they got the meter off the house and everything and detached the service to it.
Well, I guess my question is, does this really need some type of code amendment, or is it really just sort of administratively looking at it to see, okay, what's really the situation?
Well, I was gonna look at the code, try to find what Calvin had given me, but I was gonna suggest to Willard that we just switch this individual to residential, but then I do still wanna look at the code, because I don't know if we have more instances of, you know, this, or what's out there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do a little bit of both, how's that?
Anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have some questions. You said open discussions or public comments at the end. And I have one on one of the things that you guys just asked, question on it. And that was on number 3, the electric lien ordinance. About 20 years ago, I know none of you guys were involved with this or whatever, a lot of the homeowners ended up getting electric bills, okay, that were not paid. We didn't know, they said we were responsible, but we had never got anything. I came up here and I can't remember the guy's name who was the manager then. Anyways, the person that was renting one, which I don't own the property anymore, they had let them sign twice to keep the electric on, okay? Promised to pay. So I came up because I knew nothing about it until I got an electric bill. And I asked to see where the power of attorney was, giving them permission to keep running this bill up because it was over 45 degrees. Well, they had to go to the city lawyer, which I think was Amended at the time. We never got any more bills because it was not legal. When you're saying you're going to put it on there, are you still letting people sign to keep the electric on that they're going to pay and then go back to the homeowner?
We can do it twice, correct?
See, and that's not right because we weren't notified.
Currently in the code it is legal, because what it does is it says that if they're a tenant, the bill is in their name. But if the tenant doesn't pay, in the code it says that then the property owner is responsible.
But they don't even know about it. They don't know that you're letting them sign.
Yeah.
And
You get a bill.
I just told
Yeah,
you,
we get it, Bill.
I get it, because I had a renter who
I
wasn't
said
paying.
this has been about 20 years ago.
That's 20 years ago, that's not today. Today's different.
That's what I'm asking.
Today is different.
Is the homeowner,
You're still responsible for the bill.
they are getting a copy to know? See, back then you did not.
Well, you did not back then. That's
the reason I'm
Today's
questioning
today.
it.
I had a renter who was not paying his bill on time. I got a notice every time he didn't pay that on time.
You got it at the same time. They didn't let him just sign to continue to run it up and then you get stuck with it.
You get a copy, all homeowners.
We got no
get copies of
notice.
disconnect.
Okay, you're saying there is a notice that goes out? or-
Yes,
There is now.
There is now.
Now.
Okay.
All right, let's try this again.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Copy?
Yes.
And you?
Kelly?
Yes.
McKinley?
Yes.
Testori?
Yes.
And it was-